Hello, hello. You're listening to the Scaling Deep podcast. I am Lisa Princik, here with another episode to share with you all the inner workings of successful memberships. Calling myself a membership coach this week because that seems to be the word that I'm getting found for the most on Google, which is lending itself to some amazing clients. And I'm very busy with VIP days this month. It's amazing though, because those always are really motivated people who want to figure out everything all at once. And it's really fun to work with people intensively to figure out the entire business model, the plan to move forward and watch them fly. So one of the things that I do work on with a lot of people are funnels. And that is the F word that we're talking about in this week's episode, is getting comfortable with funnels and understanding them better. Because a lot of people just assume they need to do certain things when it comes to marketing and sales, and they miss a lot of steps. And we often will resist funnels when we've come from a coaching or consulting background where we've been working with clients more deeply, or we're getting referrals. But now we want to do a one-to-many program. And so we're going to have to get in front of a few more people, and not just in front of more people, but actually bringing people closer into us to understand our offers and understand what we can do for them. And that's where funnels really do their thing, and they really have value. Now, I understand the resistance. I held it for a long time. I mean, I knew there was a lot of freedom in funnels, but I also knew that they were very technical and they're very contrived. Like, we're not just winging it. We are systematically and psychologically bringing people into our world and moving them closer to us. And that does become more of a science and more of a numbers game. It does become more of a technical skill set that you're learning some of the tools and the skills to follow that process and do it effectively. So my point of telling you all this is to say we need to get comfortable with a funnel, with funnels in general. And I'll break it down a little bit more for you, because I want to make sure that you recognize what it is and what it can be and what it doesn't have to be, because there's no one size fits all formula for your funnel, but you do have to understand what those moving parts are and how they work for you. So I actually created the Scaling Deep Marketing Roadmap a long time ago. And this was just a tool or like mini course on how to analyze your marketing and really understand basically your funnel, but in a more general sense. Like, what is actually your visibility and awareness, and what is actually your engagement, and what is actually your sales process, so that you could look at all these phases and go, oh, what is in my visibility camp? I mean, so to give you an example, visibility for one person could mean their podcast. So I have clients who have a podcast that's getting thousands of downloads every month. And a lot of people are, I guess, searching for support in this way. They help widows and they're coming across the podcast, and then that's how they're learning about them. In my case, I do get a few people find me by searching on YouTube, because that's a unique place that people look for information. And some people love using YouTube as their search, but that's often not my visibility strategy. It's often not how people are finding me first. I don't get thousands and thousands of downloads every month. So for one other business, their visibility, like how people even learn about them in the first place, might come from their own podcast. In my case, it's not the case. So that's why we have to look at these different assets we have and different places where we're out, these different activities, and figure out what category are they in, so that we can look at and go, okay, where are the gaps? So for example, if you've got a ton of people coming in your podcast, from their podcast, they're hearing about you that way, and then you're not getting a lot of sales. You then want to go, okay, well, there's something happening after they hear about us that's not working, which is very different than having hardly anyone ever come across you and not have any sales, because you literally have like 10 people who land on your sales page every month. That's not enough to get a lot of sales. So when we look at this funnel, we're looking at what are people doing? And then what are we asking them to do? Like, what's our call to action to help them get more information, learn more about us, and actually get to the point where we're putting an offer in front of them. And that's in that consideration phase. And then there's the sales process in itself. But let's just talk about the first three: visibility, engagement, and then consideration. So a lot of my clients and members of the Scaling Deep Society struggle with sales. It's actually the biggest thing. And if you've listened to other podcast episodes I've talked about, it's like, you have a sales problem, you have a sales problem, you might have a sales problem, because almost every single person I work with has a sales problem. They're doing great in visibility. So they've done some things right. They're out there. They're working hard to get all kinds of PR opportunities, or they're really active on social media, or they have a big list, which means that they've had people come to them and find them, and they still aren't getting a ton of sales. And that is not a visibility issue. It doesn't mean that they've brought the wrong people to their list, because it's harder to do that unless you really are putting out information that is not useful or conducive to getting people to understand your ability to transform them and help them. So that does happen in some cases when you switch your area of focus and all of a sudden all the people who've known you for years do not need what you offer anymore. But that's rare. Mostly the people who are in our world have found us because they've recently come across something that we do that they're interested in, and they are perfectly great prospects. But what we're not doing properly is not necessarily like not nurturing them. So for example, if a whole bunch of people find you on a podcast and they're listening to your podcast and they're really getting a good sense of you and what you stand for, they're also getting some engagement. They're also getting to know you, because that's a long form content. But if they're only seeing you for like 15 seconds on TikTok or any other social platform where they just get a blip of you, there's not a lot of engagement. So you need to make sure that they're coming further towards you by either hanging out your website and doing some reading about who you are and your approach, connecting to how you see their problems, or they're jumping into something more long form like a podcast. Like in my case, a lot of people will find out about me and then they'll go listen to my podcast. Actually, they often Google me for membership coach or find me on a Facebook ad, but those are two different funnels, because the Facebook ad goes into my free training. And if they actually watch the free training, it's over an hour long, and it is pretty extensive, and it explains more about me, my approach, how I do things, and it also presents my offer. So that's one funnel. It is often Facebook ads or podcasts or that I'm on for other people, or bundles or whatever, and it's into my free training, and then they see the offer and the opportunity through emails and all that. So that's a pretty comprehensive evergreen funnel. The nice part about it is that it's evergreen, and it really frees up my time to do other things and start new projects. Like, I've been working on a lot of new cool things just within my business, and not even worth telling you about because they're exciting to me, but they're not necessarily big new offers or anything. It's just like up leveling my ad testing and working on a different way to get my Scaling Deep Society in front of people who do come across me on my website and don't necessarily get into my free training. So again, these are just like really exciting, like pulling things together projects for me that I would not have time for if I was constantly launching or constantly out selling. So my evergreen funnel is like an absolute godsend to me, because it just frees up my time, and it still gets that whole, here's how you hear about me, here's what you do next, here's how you learn about me and my approach, and then I actually put an offer in front of you that helps you consider what I'm offering to you, which is my Scaling Deep Society. And that is one funnel. But another funnel for me can be people searching on Google and looking for membership coach support, and then they come across my VIP day package, and previously they've booked a call, or they've just made a small application, like a 5 question form to submit to me, and then I send them back a call link. And now I'm doing it more via application because I'm realizing that I don't actually need to have the call with people because it's not a really long-term package. And the application questions do actually give me all I need to decide if this person's a good fit. In fact, last week, I worked with someone with a VIP day within a few days of them emailing me and asking if they needed a VIP day. And then we just emailed back and forth, picked a time, did the payment, and started. So I realized that was great. I can do it that way. So that's still a funnel though. That funnel of people finding me via Google search. And then she bought actually my workshop that's in my shop and started to work on it and got a sense of me and how I do things. And then in our email dialogue asked about VIP days. So that's still a funnel. It just isn't requiring the same level of automation in that case. And it's neither of these are including sales calls, but a sales call is also a final step in a funnel. If we are wanting to speak to people or if they need to speak to us before deciding to work with us. So I just wanted to have you hear about these different ways of having funnels so that you felt more comfortable with the F word of business. Well, the first F word of business is focus, because if you can focus, then you can create a funnel. And while they might seem like a lot of work, they can be, but there's never a bad way or time to start a funnel, because no matter how effective it is, it can be improved. Like I make micro improvements on my evergreen funnel. And as I, just told you about my VIP day package funnel, where now it's an application process. And I'm testing that completely. And I make those micro improvements or changes all the time, one at a time, to test certain things and certain ways of them working so I can see how they work. So there's never a bad time to start one, because now you'll become familiar with really understanding which parts are going really well and which parts may have like porous holes in them so people fall through because they're just not feeling the connection. And it's only in creating them and putting all these assets together with this path of getting closer to you will you be able to see what is not that strong. And if you never start the funnel and you just have a whole bunch of things out there and then just hoping for the best, like, oh, I post a lot on social media here and I do a lot of podcasts here and I do all these things, but you're not really putting it together with I just want people to do this one thing. When they come across me this way, here's the thing I want them to do. When they start doing that thing, you can analyze how effective it is, because most people don't need more visibility. I even need visibility right now. So I'm actually finally at the point where I need more visibility, because I have a funnel. I have a couple that work, that do bring me in clients and members. They're effective. And now I actually just need more people to get to know me and to see that I exist. And some of that visibility will also do some more warming up, because if someone's watching me on, say, social media for a while, because I'm not doing social media, but I'm going to, I promise this time I'm actually getting ready for it. They can maybe see an ad and then also follow me on Instagram or wherever I happen to be. And then they'll get more warmed up to actually joining the thing, watching the training, instead of just like signing up for it and going, oh, I can't be bothered. Who's this person anyway? Right? So the more visibility sometimes serves as a stronger connection process to the other things you're doing. Like you can be on TikTok and Instagram, and maybe somebody follows you in one and follows you in the other, and that gets them more excited to take the next step because they get to know you better. Same with ads and organic. Those two work together really well. So there's all these ways that you can still add engagement to visibility by doing more things that are related that might enhance that connection that people have. But it's still not just more random acts of putting these things out there and then not having a strong system, funnel system that they come back into. And that then your funnel takes over, and once they get on your list or once they watch something that's in your more inner world, they'll get a chance to see that you even have an offer available. Because I think half the time people aren't seeing the offer, or they're seeing the offer so quickly and it's not positioned properly, it's not really communicating well, that they don't actually even consider it, because it's like so generic that it doesn't have a real strong emotional pull to them to actually spend time thinking about whether or not it's right for them. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. I hope that makes sense to you. I know for some people, this is like, oh, I totally get all this. And for others are like, whoa. And that's why I just wanted to lay this out in this idea of, yes, you need a funnel if you're going to sell one-to-many. And if you're not going to just be meeting people constantly and going into sales calls. And even if you are leading people to a sales call, if you're meeting people who are strangers, who don't know you and didn't know you for very long in advance, and it wasn't you have to go work with this person, strong referral that comes from someone who they absolutely trust, and there's a lot of options or competition for that thing you do, then you're going to have to really get comfortable with developing a process that gets people closer to understanding you. And it is a funnel, my friend. Even if you don't like the word, it's a funnel. So I'm going to hold that space for you. This is exactly what I teach people inside the Scaling Deep Society. I'm always helping them go back to the messaging on their sales page and the irresistibility of their offer, and then those engagement opportunities once they have come from some social media thing, and to help them really get to know who you are and what you stand for. And that can be via emails, email marketing, or just longer form content. It can be paid workshops, can be webinars. It doesn't matter what it is, but there's the gaps that we have are harder to do because it comes down to really, really focusing on writing kick-ass copy and creating a really compelling webinar or workshop or something that is just really well done, and not just from I'm going to give tons of info away, but from a sales perspective of actually helping people feel inspired about the transformation that they can receive. So that is why we sometimes just want to run around and put out tidbits of things, because that's harder for me, but I know for most people it's easier to run around and do tidbits of things on all the social channels. And I know for me that's the hard part. But but now I'm getting to the point where I need to actually do that hard part. But now that I know my system's in place, that's the right time. So I just want to encourage you to focus on those bigger projects that are focused more on getting those sales and letting the visibility even take a break for a little while in some places while you get that other stuff done. All right. So if you want to know more about how I help people, feel free to come on over to scalingdeep.com. You can check out my VIP coaching package. You can even play with my application funnel because I can help you create all this inside a VIP coaching session. And also that gives you access to the Scaling Deep Society with a bazillion tools to help you build your funnels. All right. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.